and see if people start coming in or keep coming in, and I'll keep getting them admitted. But in the interest of time, because hopefully we have a lot of really great things to cover today, let's get started. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashley Hanlon. I am the Chief Communications Officer here at Colorado Mountain Club. And the focus of this evening's fireside chat is going to be a kind of revamp / just shared understanding of the trip leader process and how to become a trip leader with Colorado Mountain Club, just to make sure we are all on the same page. And also, I know we had several really great questions come in through our form responses ahead of this meeting. So wanting to make sure we answer all of your burning questions about Trip Leader School as well. We will be addressing the questions that came into the form first, just to be respectful of those who took the time to submit questions there. But we also will be actively monitoring the chat. So while the microphones are disabled during this meeting, please feel free to utilize the chat to pop some of those questions in there as they come up. We will try to get to all of them. And if we don't, we'll follow up with you directly. But I really am hoping we put together a really great presentation to be able to answer all of those questions for you. So right at the top, one of the questions that we received before I even open up the presentation, one of the questions that we've received was from Carol Seeger. So thank you so much about first of all, welcoming Ashley Kramer to our team, which is wonderful, but we're going to get started with kind of like a roles and responsibilities intro from all of our CMC staff members that are on here tonight. So I've already introduced myself. I will say many of you have known me in my membership and marketing director capacity. And I'm really excited to introduce this evening Kelsey Turner, who will be taking over as membership services manager. Well, she really already has taken over as membership services manager. So she's going to be doing a quick introduction for herself as well. So actually, I'll kick it over to Kelsey first, and then we'll dive into the Ashley Kramer Graham situation.
Hi guys, thanks for coming. I'm Kelsey. I will be overseeing membership services at the CMC now that Ashley has transitioned into a new role. Yay. Hopefully I can meet you guys very soon. So my role specifically with Trip Leader School is to help answer member questions about the process from registering to helping navigate through each step and what to kind of do and what to look for, as well as providing the point of contact info, who are your group leaders, who are going to help, further assist you through the journey. Also, I'm here to answer any general membership questions, so I hope this helps.
Thanks so much, Kelsey. Really appreciate it. Graham, you're unmuted already, so I'll let you dive in first here. Oh, okay. Great. That's fine. Graham said his internet connection is being a little funky. So Ashley, maybe you can speak to it a little bit more.
Awesome. For those that I haven't met, nice to meet everyone, and thank you also for showing up. Graham's role is still remaining the same as the education director, and then I am currently the education program coordinator, hoping to move into a bit of a more volunteer manager position. So for Graham's role in terms of Trip Leader School, he's still going to be working with school directors and regional groups, but I am going to be taking on a lot of the role of working with Trip Leader support volunteers, which is a new role you're going to hear about this evening, and helping make sure that the regional groups know the procedures and have their questions answered from the state level, and then they can disseminate that information out. So questions from members themselves will go more towards, to your regional group first, and then if needed up to Kelsey, whereas procedural roles and volunteer questions will head to me primarily.
Thank you very much. That is perfect. So yeah, that hopefully helps us a little bit more. And like Ashley said, we'll talk a little bit more about this volunteer support, trip leader support role as we jump into the rest of this presentation here. But let's get started. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. One second. Okay. And thank you all for your patience. I have too many screens, apparently. Here we go. So just like a quick thumbs up from you guys, if you can see my screen that now says Colorado Mountain Club Trip Leader School 2025 update. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so first, again, thank you all for being here. Really, really appreciate it. We are going to first start off with the things that many of you already know deep down. There are a lot of known issues with this current system. Just where we want, our ultimate goal is to try to get as many, we obviously want members in the club, but there are a lot of people who have been with the club for a while or who are coming into the club with a lot of experience. And we want to cultivate them as part of our volunteer leadership group, just like all of you. And so the idea here is that these are what we have kind of heard from all of you and also identified ourselves. So first of all, we know it's hard to know what the process is. There were several questions about this that came into the form that was like, is there a landing page on our website that tells you exactly how to become a trip leader? I think Carol asked that question. Also, Linda Lawson asked some questions about that as well. And currently, yeah, there's not one centralized place where someone can go to learn about how to become a trip leader. Another problem that we know has been an issue both for the group leadership themselves and and these prospective trip leaders is not having enough scenario sessions and mentor leaders that are easy to find and easy to join. So, you know, that obviously kind of puts a stopper on like relatively the third step of becoming a trip leader in this process. Also, WUFA, we know that the application process for receiving the discount code for WUFA can take some time. And then also finding a class that works for your schedule and isn't already full with other leadership scholarship awardees. So we know that that is kind of a roadblock as well. And then, of course, we know it's all well and good when you get your trip leader badge on your profile, but your trip leader badge itself doesn't actually give you the rights that you need to post on the website. What you really need is your final approval and the actual rights assigned to you on your group or section roster. And then finally, just really, yeah, understanding what are the delineation of our responsibilities, what falls on office staff to conduct versus what is being asked of group volunteer leadership to kind of make this a full circle process so we can get those trip leaders involved and on their way. So hopefully we can get right in here and start talking about all of this great stuff. So to simplify this process, we've kind of boiled it down to these 4 steps. This graphic is something that we want to make really kind of synonymous with Trip Leader School. So basically, every step of the journey that someone takes with Trip Leader School, every step that someone takes within Trip Leader School, this image appears so that they can really know exactly where they are at in each step. So, for example, this just kind of starts us up here. You are here. So moving through, it looks like finishing your co-assemble class, which is the online Trip Leader School portion of our current process. The next step would be moving through and getting your wilderness first aid course completed and your badge awarded. Next, we would move into our skills course, which refers to the scenario sessions. And then finally, performing your actual leader and training hike with your mentor leader from your group. So we'll move next onto this slide. This is what is member facing or prospective trip leader facing. This next slide, I'm going to let Ashley Kramer kind of dive in here. This is more to help us understand where those roles and responsibilities lie.
Thank you, Ashley. So one of the issues that was mentioned is that it is hard to know what the process is. And so these 4 steps are really to help clarify for our members that want to become trip leaders what the 4 things they need to do in order to become a trip leader is. The gray blocks that you see there, so the first 2 steps, those are going to be managed by the CMC state. So primarily by myself, sometimes by Graham or Kelsey, but I will be the one to check in on co-assemble graduations and track the progress of any prospective trip leaders that have entered into the co-assemble course. After they finish the co-assemble course, they're going to jump into WUFA, and again, applying for a scholarship is going to come through to me, and Roger helps out with that as well. And then we will get them registered for their WUFA course. And once they are certified from their WUFA course, they will receive those 2 badges that you see there. Those 2 badges are their ticket to then move on to the group responsibility area. So the groups are going to help us in creating scenario sessions, as well as helping prospective trip leaders connect with a mentor leader and planning their LIT. So those 2 orange steps, steps 3 and 4, are really on the groups to help facilitate that area. We're going to dive deeper into each of these steps. And again, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But Ashley, I think we're ready to move on to the next slide. Did we lose connection with Ashley?
Am I here? Am I here
Yes,
now?
you are here. Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay, no worries. Yes. All right, so we're going to dive into these steps a little deeper if you want to head to the next slide.
Perfect. Okay, so I also just feel like I want to let everyone on this call know I fully understand that like this process and us going through this process is not the most revolutionary thing you've ever seen. A lot of this is really already like what we're doing, but part of the reason that we're all getting together here and talking about it is just to make sure everyone's on the same page and really like look at like what the actual process is to become a trip leader. And maybe, you know, it's been just so you know what the user is going through as they are traveling through this process on our website so that all of you are able to better support them if questions do arise. So first of all, currently the way that the Trip Leader School course is set up on our website is under the Denver group. And I know that it makes that really hard for, you know, I know Glenn Barr has to have specific permissions to be able to post scenario sessions under it right now. And it's a little bit messy. So this proposal kind of starts anew. We have a brand new Trip Leader School kind of first step in your trip leader journey. It has the graphic that we talked about. Basically, anybody can register for this. It's listed under CMC State. We can like share this out because this is where we want everyone to funnel through. All trip leaders across the entire state are going to start with this step, which is the co-assemble step. this is a part of the, it's in the course materials where they're able to just directly log in there. That's where we are currently logging people's progress. I know several of the people on this call this evening go in there themselves and are trying to manage people's, that how much progress they've made and their graduations and things like that. But moving forward, the idea here is this is just like Ashley said, this is handled by a CMC staff member, just so that you all don't have to be meddling in here and trying to worry about a whole different login and doing all that. So the proposal here is someone enters in, they get the link for CoAssemble. Ashley goes in on a regular basis, we'll say every Monday, checks to see who has completed their CoAssemble course, and anyone that has completed with 100%, she moves into this course, which is listed on our website, and graduates those people from the roster. When they graduate from this version, this Trip Leader School, they are awarded the CMC Trip Leader online course badge. So that automatically gets awarded to their profile. As a lot of you know, you get a badge email when you get a new badge added to your profile. So when that badge is given to them after Ashley has checked that they have successfully completed simply the online course of Trip Leader School, this email comes into their inbox. It lets them know this has been added to your profile. Congratulations for completing this. The next step of your Trip Leader journey is to complete your Wilderness First Aid certification. One of the big differences in this step here, you'll see, is we've actually included the code to get registered for that Wilderness First Aid class. So this basically means that you no longer, as a new trip leader or a prospective trip leader, this comes into your email right away. You don't have to go through the process of applying for the scholarship. Your completion of CoAssemble is enough intent to, which is the intent that we had identified prior. That is enough, showing enough intent that you are ready to become a CMC trip leader. So it helps to kind of eliminate one of those steps, one of those barriers in getting people into a wilderness medicine or course. This link here takes you to the calendar of upcoming wilderness medicine classes. And then finally, we do include a little note down here because, as I mentioned at the top of this call, we do have a lot of people who are coming in with a great range of experiences, and likely some of them may have a certification already. So their directive there is to give the office a call, and we can coordinate their certification with our team to have it sent in, and we can add that badge manually to their profile. So our next step here, after they receive their code to get registered, they, with hopefully they're able to successfully complete their Wilderness First Aid course. And that is also, thank goodness for Ashley, is managed by Ashley. She comes in every Monday, on a bi-weekly basis, and is able to graduate all the people who were in the the last weekend's WUFA course. They've successfully completed their quiz, and they are now certified with their Wilderness First Aid badge for the next 2 years. So this is the follow-up email that goes to them once they've completed WUFA. They get the copy of their certification. They are thanked for their participation in it, and it says, prospective trip leaders, you are now on to step 3 of your trip leader process. Head to your regional link to find an upcoming scenario session. So we will dig into this a little bit more coming up, but down here, to save some space, we did not list all of the groups, but in theory, when this email goes out, there will be a list of every regional group, and it links to your group's very specific scenario sessions, which are courses that are built under your group's page. This information is also provided at the end of their co-assemble wilderness first aid quiz. Thanks, Ashley. So those of you who have recently taken WUFA, which I'm assuming several of you are in that boat, after your quiz, there is like a landing page that says there, and we will also link the regional group links there as well, just to give them 2 different touch points of where to go forward onto their step 3. So they click on their link, and in this case, this is linking them to the Denver Trip Leader School scenario sessions. So these are actually all already built under every group's page. So anyone who has admin rights or is able to see the courses that are posted under your specific regional group, you may have seen this already. But the way that this works is, we have our umbrella Denver Trip Leader School scenario session, and then instructors are able to then post scenario sessions under that to conduct scenario sessions when you all determine is part of your calendar, or when is convenient, or when you see that you have an influx of trip leaders who need support. So this takes them directly to your specific group page as long as they click on the region that they are in. The other important thing I would like to kind of point out here is right over here. This is our, not the item has not been published, because that is true. we didn't want to do this without letting all of you know, but this down here, the prerequisites. So in order to register for any of your scenario sessions, doesn't matter what regional group you're in, you are required to have your Trip Leader School online course badge, as well as your Wilderness First Aid course badge. So there's no way that someone who has not completed online the online course, or there's no way that someone they can't go on it without the Wilderness First Aid badge as well, just because I know that's another part that has caused some problems where you don't necessarily know where people are in the process and what steps that they have successfully completed. So this is obviously, like I said, this is specific to Denver Group. But another message that we want to convey to people is, hey, maybe you are in the Denver Group technically, and you're trying to lead for the Denver Group, but none of the Denver Group scenario sessions work for you. Take a look at the Boulder Group calendar and see what opportunities are happening in Boulder with their scenario sessions. The overarching goal of this process, and Linda Lawson brought up this question in the forum ahead of time, we're hoping that by kind of unifying in this way, we're able to, if you are a certified trip leader in Denver and you end up moving to the Western Slope, that you have received the same level of training, the same amount of training, the same in-depth training to be able to lead on the Western Slope when you move, or it's everyone in the club has the same level of training and expertise, and we can it's a little bit easier for us to both share leaders, but also just increase the amount of trips and activities that we're able to post on the calendar. So let's say a successful scenario session is put on the calendar, and you have a full sign-up list, and it's really wonderful and exciting, and everyone passes, and they are marked as successful on the activity. It does become incumbent on the director of this course to then go in and graduate people as the scenario sessions are completed, because with that graduation, they will receive yet another badge. They will receive their Trip Leader School Skills Course badge, which is reflective of the successful completion of their scenario session. This is a similar mock-up email of what they'll get when they get that badge awarded to their profile. It will direct them to, again, for space, we've saved this, but all of the mentor leader directories, which we are asking, that will be in a later slide. That's something that we're hoping that we can start to create with all of you, just so that people are able to go directly to people in their area and are able to connect with them to be able to facilitate their leader in training hike. So we're kind of reaching the end of the journey, which is so exciting. Once they have established that connection with their mentor leader, the hope here is the mentor leader is able to advise them on every step of the actual, trip process. And that, that's not just the trip itself. That includes so much more, right? We all know this. Posting the trip on the website, helping them become familiarized with how to use routes and places, how to make sure that they, put all of the correct information on their actual trip posting, how to manage their roster once they start getting people excited about their trip and getting on to their trip, obviously executing the hike or activity to go out on, and then finally the process of closing the trip. So this is as much of a like in-person training thing as it is a website and familiarizing people with the process of posting trips on the website. Here, I do want to direct you to a couple things. One, you'll notice this right here. This is the activity template. So for those of you who post hikes on our website or activities on our website, excuse me, typically it'll say hike Acorn Creek Trailhead Acorn Creek Loop. So that's reflective of your activity template. And then following that is the route and place title that you have selected. Maybe it's climb at, I wanted to say Shenandoah State Park, but that's not right. Wherever it might be, like your activity and then where you are going. This one obviously is a unique activity template that is leader in training hike. The reason that this will be so important, one, we want to communicate to potential participants that this is a training opportunity. So it may not be the fastest hike you've ever been on. It may not be the most intense hike you've ever been on. This is a training opportunity for a new trip leader. So we want to communicate that appropriately. And then also down here in this corner, it might be a little hard to see, this activity template has a built-in badge award for leaders, which is really exciting. So it does require that the mentee is listed as a mentor, a mentee leader. That's a different, like there's obviously leader, co-leader, participant, but there is another option as you're setting up the hike to have someone on your roster that is a mentee. And when you mark this hike as an LIT mentor leader, when you mark them as successful on this activity, that badge, which is the CMC Tril Leader School badge right up here, gets automatically awarded to their profile. So in all, if maybe you hear from someone and they are, hey, I'm not sure where I'm at in the trip leader process. Can you please help me? By going to look at their profile, you're able to see, oh, I see you have the online skills course and you have the WUFA badge. You're stopped at the scenario sessions. Let me direct you to the scenario sessions link for your regional group. Similarly, someone's like, hey, I thought that I completed everything that I needed to complete, but I'm just not sure anymore. Going to their profile and seeing that they have the online course badge, the wilderness first aid badge, the skills badge, and then the final CMC Tril Leader School badge, you're like, oh my gosh, you've done it. You've completed all of the steps necessary, and we are now, it's in the hands of your group leadership to provide those final levels of approval. So with that, again, this still falls into the regional groups. Your mentor leader is then asked to fill out the LIT evaluation form, which then goes to whatever governing body you have set up, or whatever the process is that you use to review trip leaders or their performance. And the final step here is a welcome email. You've been reviewed and accepted by this is actually, excuse me, I apologize. This is the badge award this is the email that goes after that badge goes on their profile. And ultimately, this is just, hey, give us a week from the completion of your LIT hike to have our group leadership review the LIT evaluation form. And then it's the welcome email. Once that final approval has happened, with full approval from your mentor leader, and then approval from the group, again, in whatever capacity that you all have established, to then send them that email that says, congratulations. So, sorry, I'll go back real quick. Because then it is on the groups too, whoever is doing that final certification, final approval, sending out this congratulations email. You're now a trip leader for, the Western Slope group. They need to then make sure that they log on to cmc.org, go to the roster, and assign both the full-on CMC Trip Leader badge, as well as the trip leader, there's that little checkbox. Those admins on this call understand that. There's a little checkbox that if you don't have that leader box checked next to your name, you're not able to actually post trips on the calendar. Having the trip leader badge is really nice, and it looks really good, but it doesn't actually give you the permissions that you need to begin posting on behalf of Colorado Mountain Club. So that is pretty much the full cycle process here. So we talked about a lot here, and we know we have some things that need to be both discussed and also worked on before we're able to actually roll this out in an effective way, because we don't want to just get rid of that old Trip Leader School posting under Denver group for fear that we may lose people and people might get lost in the shuffle. So we want to make sure that we have everything lined up here appropriately before we do that. So Ashley, are you kind of speaking to this slide a little bit? Amazing. I will let you run with it.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we have some to-dos to do on our end to make sure that we are all set up to jump with this new process. Graham and I have been working on updating the leadership manual, and we will be getting that final approval ready and updated onto the co-assemble course right before May 16th when this all rolls out. So that is already being done. And we can also share that out with our trip leader volunteer support people so that they can also see any of those updates. We also have found that we have a pretty significant phase 2 that Graham is going to speak to at the very end here. But we have some work to do around specialty trip leading. And what does it look like to become a specialty trip leader after you finish Trip Leader School? So our work after this evening is going to be moving on to what does phase 2 look like and how do we help support you guys there. We also are going to take on the role of coordinating with the new Trip Leader Support volunteer from each regional group. That is going to be my primary role, is to coordinate with them. Our hope is to set up a monthly meeting with this Trip Leader Support volunteer to check in on how the process is going, to make sure that all questions are being addressed, but to also take a look at what students have graduated from WUFA and are going to be moving into the session scenario part of the process so that you can prepare to know how many people have graduated and are coming up next, and also to check in on those specialty trip leading roles and that type of stuff. So that's going to be another role we will take on. And then lastly, we do have some work to update the general CMC Trip Leader page. Where this lands, we are still working on, and we are going to kind of strip some of the information. The important things that are going to land there is, hey, we're super excited you want to become a trip leader, welcome. It's going to give them that graphic so that they understand the 4 steps, and we'll probably have the contacts for the regional trip leader support volunteers so that if they have those specific questions, they can reach out to them as they're going along in the process. And so that's something that we're going to be working on. We can't do any of these things, though, until we have a couple deliverables from each region. And so here are the things that we need from you guys. First and foremost, we need to update the group or the region's landing page. So when we go into the website and someone goes into the Denver groups page, we need a very specific and flashy Trip Leader School subsection of your group landing page, so that if a member of the Denver group or the Boulder group wants to become a trip leader, they can see that on your page. They can head there. That's where they find the information. That graphic can also live there so that they know the steps, but that's also where they're going to find their mentor leaders. That's also where they're going to get questions answered about any other special steps that are relative to your regions. So one of the questions was, like, the Denver group has a certain process of selecting mentor leaders, or they have a certain process of connecting trip leaders to the website trainings. So that you still have the autonomy to control. Just make sure that it's really clearly informed on those group landing pages. The second thing that we need from everyone this evening is to establish that trip leader support contact from each region. I think I spoke a bit to what that person will do, but if you have further questions, feel free to add them into the chat. The third thing we need is to solidify the mentor leader directory. So when we finish this meeting and we send out the recording, we will also let you guys know the list that we have right now of contacts, and we need to make sure that all of that is updated. We also need groups to go into their current mentor leader directory and make sure that it is up to date. And it provides enough details so that when a prospective trip leader is looking for a mentor, they know what activities that mentor likes to do. They can kind of get a little description and find out more about that person, so they feel welcome to email them and find out more. A lot of the groups already have that. We just want to make sure that it lives underneath your group's landing page where you are talking about Trip Leader School, so that it is easy to find under your guys' page. That is not going to live under the state's page anymore. And then lastly, as Graham's going to speak to, we do need to review and share any specialty leadership requirements. So for the sections and schools here that, for example, backpacking school or mountain biking, road biking, we've done some work with scrambling, skiing, any of those specialty leaderships that have maybe some additional requirements, or we want to make sure that trip leaders have certain experience or skills and competencies. We need to know what process you already have in place so that we can help support you through that. And then we also need to know where we need to do some revamping and some collecting. So I think when Graham speaks, that'll come more clear, but that's going to be our last to do on the group's end. Okay. So I think that leads it to Graham, but again, any clarifications, please put them in the chat and we'll be sure to address those.
I do, before we move on to that final slide for Graham to kind of speak on, I do want to, it looks like Christy, Graham popped an answer to your question in the chat there. Dimitri, thanks for providing some insight into you. Pretty much already have that established for Northern Colorado groups. So that's great. Many of you probably already do, which is wonderful. So hopefully it's not too hard of a decision to make. on who we want to kind of have make that monthly connection with Ashley. And I just want to also say here, as we talk about these updates to your group landing pages, these region specific landing pages, what the vision is for those is that they become like your mini website. So I worked a couple weeks ago with the Bobcat section to say kind of something very similar. Like, I'm pretty sure they include a link to like the local weather and some information about like avalanche risk and stuff like that. Like, that landing page there is a great opportunity for you all to communicate everything that is unique about your group. And I know one of the pieces, questions that we got, I believe it was from Glenn, that was like, you know, it's kind of buried to get to our group pages. There is we are working on a process to kind of remap the website to make that not so buried, and really highlight those regional group pages a lot more, just so that we can reserve, like, you know, the 14,000 foot view of what CMC is on those like kind of overarching pages. But if you want to learn more and get more involved with your direct community, your little landing pages there are the key to sharing all of that information. So as you add the, you know, mentor leader directory and maybe any really specific, you know, criteria, Northern Colorado group just revamped their trip leader kind of code of conduct. Pikes Peak has a really lovely volunteer leadership recognition document that they have that's unique to them. That's where those documents will live to make sure people are able to see exactly what they're getting into on yours. So thanks for letting me say that there. Also, you may have noticed at the bottom in big red letters and numbers is May 16th. Our hope is to have this process launched and ready to be utilized by all of you by May 16th, which means that we need this information ahead of that to make our updates, which we mentioned in the slide before, and then make sure that your regional constituents are able to get the information that they need as well. So thanks.
Ashley, can I jump in before Graham really quick? Sorry, Graham.
Sure.
Sweet. I was just looking also through the questions. I just wanted to address 2 questions that were sent out prior to the meeting that are relevant to this process, not quite to the phase 2. So it was mentioned by Linda Lawson of how will LIT trips be handled, who will lead them. That's still all on the groups. The mentor leaders and the LIT trips, that is, if your group has a special way of doing those LIT trips or you have a special process, that is all on you guys. We just need to make sure that that information is presented clearly on the website for the prospective members to find. And again, we're going to link that information in those emails that they will receive. And then there was one other I wanted to let's see. Okay, I think that was it. There was one other I saw, but if I remember, I'll add it to the chat. So awesome.
Thanks, Ashley. All right, so our phase 2, and we'll go right to Graham for this one.
Okay, thanks. I think that's a great start to the process. This has taken longer than than we anticipated, like many things have. But I think this outline that we've worked through, that you just heard explained to you, hopefully supports this process. And I think there's just a lot of excitement about moving forward with that. There are some things that will follow, and I'm actually hesitant to get too deep into that, because I think this is really where our focus is in terms of moving forward with this process, standardizing it, kind of normalizing this, and just trying to make it clear across the whole organization how to become a trip leader. It seems like it shouldn't be a complicated thing, but I think we've tried to make it as simple as possible. So there's a list of questions here. I'll look at some of them here. Especially, this is from Carol Steger, especially helpful in the process description will be an outline of the steps for the various specialty leadership badges. I might read some of these other questions here real quick. Will there be levels of trip leaders such as urban hike leader, mountain trip leader, bike trip leader, ski trip leader, etc.? Another question from Linda Lawson. Currently, technical trip leaders must become a general trip leader, then a tech section takes over training for a candidate to become a technical trip leader. How will this be handled now that state is taking over trip leader training? So not totally correct based on our presentation tonight, is really kind of we're supporting those first two steps, and we are creating a process where there is a handoff, and that continues at the group level. So that we're partially, basically supporting those first two steps. Last question here. Denver Group ski trip leaders have become trip leaders, and then a ski trip leader rating has been assigned by a Denver Group ski trip leader after observing and skiing with a ski trip LIT. How will this work now? Linda Lawson. Great. So you kind of get the genre of questions. And again, I really don't want to go too deep into this, but we really want to kind of focus on this process because there's a lot even that was just discussed tonight. But that is to follow. So we will roll out. So by that May 16th in red, you can expect that those deliverables that are shared in terms of the overall trip leader process, those will be executed and done. The process for this phase 2 is not going to be before that May 16 deadline. And the reason why is because we want to work with groups collectively, kind of at a either committee, consortium, coalition level of getting input. And so that's happening right now with the activity standard for scrambling. And that one has just kind of rose a little bit in prominence recently, which has been awesome. It's been really fun to see that. And it's also been one that we've been aware of, like, hey, there needs to be a little bit more definition here. This is we're not implementing a sort of top down, like, all right, we need to set up these policies and procedures, and we really need to crack down on these crazy scrambles that are happening across Colorado. That's really not our intent. Our intent, we're excited to support, the active participation on these trips just in general. So please know that we're going into this process with that in mind. But for example, if you said, how would you define scrambling? If you ask 10 people across the group, across the club, that question, you might get some different responses. Some people might say, well, that could be mountaineering with a little bit of use of your hands. And I think maybe some people on this call have participated in training or trips related similar to that. Some people might say, well, there may be a rope involved. It could go into that. So those are the kind of the types of questions that we want to support and to answer. But right now, it will not be in the updated trip leader manual, but our hope is to, by the 2026 version, that we would have these standards defined across CMC with group input and participation, so that if somebody says, hey, I'm organizing a hiking trip, it's at a moderate level and it's off trail, that you might understand what those terms mean, and you could look up a document if you weren't totally sure, and it'd be easy to find. Hiking is, I think, is not always the most concerning, but it can be, even just like the pacing, that can be a dividing sort of topic for how that experience is defined for different members. So I might stop there. I can stick to the script, Ashley, if you want me to kind of move into any other ones that need to be cleaned up, and then I'll let you come back to the moderating.
I'll let Ashley Kramer, looks like she might have a question here. So we'll get, we'll let Ashley chime in.
I just wanted to add on, I think a lingering question after Graham talking about phase 2 is, well, then what are we going to do for people as they try to be specialty leaders between now and then? So as we work through this process, we will continue with the process that is currently in place for the majority of groups, which is if you want to be a specialty trip leader, you have to do your LIT underneath that specific activity. So we will continue under that mode until further messaging comes out. I also just wanted to point out that someone asked, is snowshoeing now a specialty? The only reason that snowshoeing has been dropped into specialty is that you also have to get ATA and ARI, which is an addition to our general trip leading school. So anything that has that kind of extra step is going to jump into that specialty category. So I hope that clarified that.
Yeah, and I hopefully that speaks, Kevin, to your question in the chat as well about an additional LIT for snowshoe trip leaders. Really, like Ashley said, when we talk about snow sports or winter sports on here, it's making sure, baseline, if you are taking people out and there's snow on the ground, we do need to, you are supposed to have an avalanche terrain avoidance badge on your profile. If you are venturing into any type of avalanche terrain, then you have your extra step of ARI. So there is some complexity there on what winter sports look like. And it doesn't, like I said, right now, Ashley has said, like, there are ways to, we'll maintain that the current way that things are. And moving forward, I think it'll be, I don't know that like a whole other snowshoeing LIT hike will be required. But it's just to break down the idea that, like, very straightforward, when you complete the base layer of CMC Trip Leader School, that tier 1 is what you are in theory authorized to lead on behalf of the club. So hopefully that, sorry, long answer for both of those things here. But I just got my little 5-minute warning here. We've got 5 minutes left in this meeting, and I'm scanning this question document, Graham. I believe maybe you are too. If there's anything glaring that we overlooked, I don't think there is, but I also want to give some time for people in the chat to pop those things in there before we sign off for the evening. I'm going to just peek through this real quick. Don't see anything coming in yet, which is good. Maybe you were typing your questions. Oh, there we go. Matt got us in here with, yes, absolutely. So Matt's question in here is about ATA scholarships. So starting this winter of 2025, both ATA and ARI are going to be overseen by staff, similar to how WUFA is managed currently. So we'll be able to, because as we just mentioned with winter sports, because they are required for risk management purposes, that's part of the reason they've been moved into under the state office's purview. And that also means that we will be able to start offering scholarships for those, again, next winter season. Graham, am I missing anything there with that?
I don't think so. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
Nope.
Jumping into the next meeting.
You're good. Okay, so Keith asked, do you have to be a trip leader before becoming any type of instructor? Yes. This is something that has not been very well enforced, but this lends itself to just general CMC volunteer leadership. The hope is that everyone has a baseline level of training that they have undergone to, again, kind of draw back to what I had mentioned a little bit earlier about the confidence that you have that any CMC trip leader or any CMC instructor has undergone a similar level of training that you can trust and rely on. Jacqueline, specialty badge for regular cross-country skiing, or can someone lead with a trip leader and ATA? That is something that we're actually looking for some advice on. Ashley, I see you've unmuted. I'll let you take that one.
So that is our phase 2, and I think skiing is our next whole group. Let's meet on it and make sure that all the groups are on the similar page with skiing. So we do want to make sure that our ski leaders are getting that ski leader trip badge. But right now the groups do not have an agreement on what is required in order to receive that badge. So now that we've finished scrambling, that is our next project to jump into. The ski season is winding down. So for the remainder of the year, we don't imagine many more ski trips are going to be taking place. And at this current moment, if they only have trip leader and ATA, then they can lead the skiing, but we're going to really try to revamp that ASAP.
Thank you, Ashley. And all in the guise of risk management and trying to be as responsible as we can, because we want to make sure everyone is as safe as they can be and as responsible as they can be in the outdoors, which we know are inherently risky. So, okay, so I've reviewed our questions on here. It looks like we've gotten to just about all of them and addressed all of the ones from the form. I haven't seen any more come into the chat. And with our last minute, I will first of all thank you all for being here, truly and genuinely. I know there was a lot of content discussed. I'm happy that Ashley up at the top of the chat actually shared the link to our presentation directly. So those of you maybe have pulled it up there, but I will also share it in our recap email that goes out tomorrow. Similarly, we will have the recording uploaded to YouTube so that all of you have access to it, as well as being able to share it out with maybe some of your other fellow volunteer leaders who weren't able to make it tonight. We'll also send out the list that we have for your group or for the groups of who we have as current mentor leaders, and a little bit more of a breakdown of what this phase 2 looks like for us, just to kind of recap a little bit for everybody. But genuinely, again, thank you all. And I'm excited to introduce you to Kelsey and have Ashley kind of come on and talk more confidently about this whole revamp process. And if any other questions or thoughts come up in the next couple of days, please feel free to email us, and we'll hopefully be able to get those answered for you. But thank
Ashley,
you all.
Can you go back to the deliverables just so that we can all see that one more time before we?
Absolutely. There we go. Take a screenshot. I'll still send the link or something, but or I will send the link, but just as probably a good way to leave it there. So great. Well, thank you all. We're a minute over, darn it, but we've made it. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for being